Well, good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Wednesday, September 20th, the 263rd day of 2023. Leading off the headlines this morning, the Farm Bill watch continues. House Ag Chair G.T. Thompson and Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack at an Axios press event expressed confidence for a farm bill this year that shed no new light on its timing. Ag Chair Thompson says he's still waiting for farm bill help from the administration and the Congressional Budget Office.
We're waiting on data from the Congressional Budget Office. We've given them a number of proposals. USDA has been pretty good with their technical assistance, but we need more of that to come in.
While Secretary Vilsack is less concerned about timing, despite the current bill's September 30th expiration.
We're going to get a farm bill. It's just a question of what will the farm bill be, right? It's not a question of when. It's going to happen.
Meantime, Senator Chuck Grassley on his weekly call with Farm Press sounded more pessimistic, arguing Democrats don't want to give up any food stamp money and share it with producers.
That is not going to enhance the protection that farmers need. And it's just ridiculous that this is holding up a bipartisan bill.
Ag Chair Debbie Stabenow refused earlier to discuss the nature of the holdup in Farm Bill talks with top Ag Republican John Boozman. But Grassley's now revealed it's come down to the long-running partisan fight about protecting enhanced pandemic SNAP benefits versus protecting farmers struggling with input inflation. Bottom line, Grassley says, quote, "We're running out of time, and a one-year extension may be needed without a farm bill by Christmas." Well, Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack on Tuesday offered his thoughts on the connection between food insecurity here and abroad and the need to improve sustainability in agriculture. More from USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
Sustainability and food insecurity, the subject of an Axios forum Wednesday. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack during the event offered his thoughts on the connection between the two.
We need and have a responsibility, given the incredible productivity of our land in the United States, we have a responsibility to respond to the growing climate crisis and the link that it has, making it more difficult for developing countries to produce what they need to produce for their own people. That requires, I think, not only a commitment to the food programs that we have at USDA and USAID, but it also, I think, requires a renewed commitment to agricultural research.
Acknowledging the need to develop innovations domestically, learn about advances in developing countries, and share such technologies and practices.
I think there are practices that are indigenous knowledge here in this country and elsewhere that could be helpful to us in terms of our own ability to maintain productivity.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
American Farm Bureau Federation economist Danny Munch presented testimony Tuesday at the ongoing federal milk marketing order pricing formula hearing. This is the third time an American Farm Bureau Federation representative has testified at the hearing. The testimony focuses on adjusting make allowances or the estimated costs the dairy processors incur to convert milk to consumable dairy products like cheese and butter. This price directly affects the price paid to farmers for their milk. The American Farm Bureau Federation is advocating for make allowances to be adjusted based on a mandatory audited USDA survey, which the USDA says it does not have the authority to conduct. The American Farm Bureau Federation is pursuing legislation that would direct USDA to conduct such a survey. The American Farm Bureau Federation opposes increasing make allowances based on potentially biased voluntary survey data that could reduce farmers' prices unfairly. The American Farm Bureau Federation submitted 9 proposals for consideration during the hearing, and 4 were accepted by the USDA. Additionally, American Farm Bureau Federation largely supports 4 of the 5 proposals submitted by the National Milk Producers Federation. Full American Farm Bureau Federation testimony is available at fb.org. Mark Isley, a cow-calf and yearling stocker producer from southeast Wyoming, was chosen earlier this year to become the 2024 president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Today, we get to learn more about President-elect Isley and his views. Isley is expected to become the next NCBA president in early 2024. He'll take on the role that is currently held by Todd Wilkinson.
Well, I'm a cow-calf and yearling stocker producer in southeast Wyoming, about 6,500-foot elevation, good grass country, and we've had a little rain this year, so it made a big difference.
Isley says his decision to run for president of NCBA goes back many years.
Well, it actually started a long, long time ago when I was a young man and I wanted to become a cattle raiser. Grew up around them. Both sides of my family had done that. And I found out there was more to just raising a family and cows. I found out there were problems with government. There was overregulation. There was permitting process. I reached out to the state associations, the national association like NCBA, and they're what helped me get through those hurdles. I didn't have to invent the wheel. I did have to learn how to use it.
Isley's cattle operation is in a part of the country where there are public lands. He said it's important that cattle producers across the country understand the value of these territories for the beef cattle industry.
First of all, producers love the public lands as much as we do our private lands. And for people who we share that with, they need to understand this is not just about cattle ranchers or sheep producers, whatever. This has to do with other things on public lands, like recreation. So those things are important to the public. They're important to local economies. So we think those are important, and we need to raise awareness that this is not just about us, it's about everybody.
Consumer confidence, Isley adds, is another key focus of his, as it's important that consumers have trust in the way producers are producing beef.
You don't have a multi-generational operation that isn't sustainable by doing wrong things. They're sustainable because you do all the right things. You make the right choices. You work with nature and you work with your families, and that's how it is sustainable. That's what people want. That's what we've always delivered.
That's NCBA President-elect Mark Isley. A special thanks to Ron Hayes of the Radio Oklahoma Network for that audio. And finally this morning, as we've been telling you all week, this is National Farm Safety and Health Week, and for many growers, harvest is in full swing. It's also a pressure-packed time for growers, and it's easy to take shortcuts that can be hazardous to the grower and to others in the community. As combines are rolling in the fields, it's important to think about safety. As part of National Farm Safety and Health Week, Deepal Chowdhury, DeKalb, Asgrow, and Delta Pine brand leader for Bayer, reminds growers of a few important safety tips to keep in mind during this hectic season.
First and foremost, we're heading into a season where everything just gets busy, right? We're trying to get the crop out of the field and we have a limited amount of time. Mother Nature doesn't always work in our favor. So as things get busier, let's remember to slow down. I'm not saying it's easy to slow down, but let's remember to take that extra caution. When we're pulling a piece of equipment out, do a quick walk around. When we're driving down the road and we see a large piece of equipment going down the road, don't assume that they see you. Give them enough space. Slow down. That's really the biggest premise that tends to solve a lot of the challenges that we face when we get busy is if you can slow down and take just a little bit extra caution, it will potentially save a life.
He recommends what should be top of mind with growers during harvest.
When you first jump into a new piece of equipment, just be aware of your surroundings by taking a quick walk around. That's something that we've always recommended and try to remind folks of. These are big pieces of machinery, and you don't always see exactly what's on the other side or what's right behind you in a blind spot. So a quick walk around goes a long way. Now, when you're following behind a large piece of equipment, give them space. Don't assume that they see you. Use as much caution as you can when you're around them. And then certainly give them right away. They've been working long hours many times. Their equipment doesn't always move as fast as we want to go, so just give them space.
Chowdhury says grain bin safety is also extremely important this time of year.
When it comes to grain bin safety, we're moving the crop out of the field into the grain bins. There's a lot of moving pieces. And speaking of moving pieces, an auger is a key portion of getting that crop into the grain bin. Let's take precaution when we're around augers. Just because a little piece of trash or something's stuck at the bottom, don't think you can just quickly move in and remove it. Take a lot of precaution out there because it takes a split second for that auger to grab a hold of your fingers, your hand, and chew it up pretty quickly. And then when you're up on the grain bins, let's not take those extra leaps of faith, those extra steps where we think we can just balance it out. Let's take all the precaution we can to make sure that we're sturdy, that we're safe. And then certainly if you're on the grain bin and you're by yourself, make sure someone knows what you're doing, where you're working, so that they know to check on you and or help you if something came about.
He adds it's a good reminder that folks know where you are at all times.
Certainly when things are busy during harvest season, how do we make sure that we're focusing on letting folks know where we are at all times? Working on a farm is like being part of a big team, and you always want to know that you have a little bit of a buddy system, right? So some farming teams are bigger, some are not so much bigger, but letting your team know, letting your buddy know on the team where you're at is critical, especially when it comes for safety reasons.
As a part of National Farm Safety and Health Week, that was Deepal Chowdhury with Bayer reminding you to be safe this harvest season. Well, you can keep up with the latest from the world of agriculture each week by subscribing to the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station, found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you award-winning agriculture programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go this harvest season. We'll get you through those long, challenging days this fall. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report here on Steve Shetler Media. Make it a great day, everybody.